So how did they do this? Or why did they do this? So who's heard it for the first time? That you're acting under an agent in commerce, as we call it? Most people have no idea. If you've got your driver's license, I saw some people pulling them out. Pull your driver's license out, or your credit card, or a mortgage, M-O-R-T, mort mean death, gauge debt till death. So your debt till death document that you sign, everything will have your name in, at least, at worst, your surname, name denoting a corporate entity, in capital letters. Okay, and there's no mistakes to that. We've got a client who's a former police officer who, when he went through his police training, was told whenever you're writing a person's name, a corporate name, you write it in all capital letters. So I'll tell you a couple of my police stories just before lunch, where my address was in upper and lower case, but my name was in all capital letters. He had no idea why he was writing it that way. But how did they get there? Normally I bring a Bible, and we're not here to Bible bash, but what I can tell you is that the court systems and the law are based on what? They're based on the Bible. Make no mistake. In fact, we had a guy at the last course who's trying to become an Australian citizen, and it's part of the Australian citizenship exam, and things you have to study is acknowledging that the Bible is one of the most important documents, and that's what the law is based on. So it's there for everyone to see. So what I normally do is have someone read out 1 Samuel chapter 8. Does anybody know what 1 Samuel chapter 8 is, the message? It's be wary of appointing a king. There is only one creator, so be wary of appointing a king, because that king may be corrupt and take the best of your sons and send them off in thousands, armies of thousands. Turn your daughters into perfumers, take 10% of the best of your crop and livestock, X, Y, and Z. It runs through this whole story about be wary of appointing a king, and a king is what? The government. So if you watch some of the rest of the Kymatica, it talks about the victim archetype, or the victim consciousness that we live in, and by allowing ourselves to feel that way, we feel we need a ruler. We feel we need this big, powerful force that apparently has our best interests in heart to allow us to be ruled. So if you read 1 Samuel chapter 8, it'll make it very clear that we need to be wary of appointing a king. So what I'm going to talk to you now is about the master-servant relationship. Okay, and I want you to just look through, as we go down the line here, who's the master and who's the servant? Yeah. So if you've got the creator, or God, Yahweh, first breath, created man. So we're God's gracious servants, and we're to report to one master. I'm talking about how the Bible's beliefs are here. What your beliefs are yours. So then in our infinite wisdom, as our infrastructure grew and we thought that we needed management, we created government to govern us. Yeah? And so what are our government workers called? Public servants. So we're the master and they're the servant. Does it feel that way? Last time you had a chat with the ATO? Now, when they realised then, of course, that they are our servants, the powers that be didn't like that, because they want to have what they call jurisdiction or power over us. So they then created, you'll notice I've spelled it in all capital letters, corporate government. The Commonwealth of Australia is a proprietary limited company. Queensland Government is the Brigalow Corporation. Look it up. All these organisations, the Australian Taxation Office, they're all corporations. Okay, and what's the lifeblood of a corporation? Profit. Thank you. So these corporations, then in around 1932-33, when most of the world went bankrupt, created your birth certificate. And they created you as a person. Get a Black's Law Legal Dictionary. It's the dictionary they'll use in court, and look up person. It will denote a person as a corporation, and the lesser of which any meaning is to stand in court. So they've created this trust, or this document here, which is a birth certificate. They always had the Register of Births, Deaths and Marriages, but they started issuing these certificates in around 1932-33. Okay. So quick background knowledge. And we're sort of building a jigsaw puzzle here today, guys, but it's hard. I'm building a little bit over here, a little bit over here. Hopefully by the end of the day it'll come together. But just from a banking perspective, in 1913 in America, the Federal Reserve was instigated, and that's a centrally owned bank. Okay, centrally owned bank by who? People think it's the government. Same with the RBA, the Reserve Bank of Australia. Who thinks the RBA is a government institution? Nope, privately owned. So you've got private corporations and people issuing the money and controlling the people. So when the government went bankrupt, these banksters came back and said, right, well, we now want collateral over your people. So they've created a corporate a corporate entity that you now trade under. Amazing, isn't it?
happens if your birth certificate is written in lowercase?
Some of them are in upper and lower case, but in italics. So under maritime law, anything in a box or italics or a bracket can't be seen or heard. Still fiction. Is this in a box? Is anything in maritime law admissible that's in a box admissible? What do you stand in to bear witness when you enter a courtroom? A witness box. You can't be seen or heard.
If the name's written in lowercase, it's actually the common law title, and the common law title is the name, or the title that's gifted to the parents, or gifted by the parents to the child, I should say. So there's a common law title on the document, and there's a family name on the document, and in our minds we associate them. But they're not truly associated.
They're not the same. They're very different. And you continually, what they call, joinder yourself to this corporate entity, and every time you do that, you relinquish your rights, your unalienable rights as a being. So they've created this person down here that's now been traded. Your original birth certificate, this isn't Steph's, the original one will be probably sitting in a Swiss bank somewhere with a few stamps on it, has been mortgaged. There's what they call an exemption account, or an offset account that's been set with your bond or your trust deed here. Who thinks they're running around as a trust or a corporation? What do you need to open a bank account? What do you need for your passport? What do you need to do anything? Get your driver's license or anything? They want to see this corporate entity. Sounds far-fetched? I thought it was far-fetched the first time I heard it, but actually it resonated as true as truth with me. It just started sinking in really big time. So they've then created this corporate person and given you a tax file number, just like they give an ABN number to any other corporation, or a birth certificate number or a social security number, which is up here, or a warehouse receipt, your state chattel, owned by the state. Remember what a certificate is? Now this document's it's beautiful. They don't hide any of this, guys. They put it up for you to see what you've done. My birth certificate, I'm 43, Steph's 30, so I'm sort of the next generation on. They've got father's occupation only, whereas Steph's got mother's and father's occupation. Because what's happened is, of course, as debt got bigger and taxes, they wanted to tax both the population, not just men. Women then went out to work. But why do they ask for the father's occupation? Yeah, know how much you're worth. If your dad's a doctor, it's a good chance you might be. If he's a coal miner, it's a good chance you might be. They need to know what they're going to mortgage this document for. It's fascinating, isn't it? Now, what about the informant? Doesn't informant denote some sort of passing on of information of a crime? What's the informant? This whole document is fiction. It's all in a box. Can't be seen or heard. So we're going to go through now the public and private side of things, which is fiction and substance. Isn't it incredible? We're all running around in this fictional world, signing up. Go and try and open a bank account and tell them to spell your name in lowercase. You've been created as a nom de guerre dead person. That's actually not a birth certificate, it turns into a death certificate. Under trust law, in 45 days it goes off to probate. You're actually running around as a nom de guerre dead person. How many rights does a dead person have?
None.
How many rights? What about a corporation? Isn't that what corporation stands for? C-O-R-P, dead? It's a dead man speaking. That's what corporation stands for.
Does that mean I can claim insurance for being dead?
For being dead. Yeah. Well, you're running around telling everyone you're dead every time you sign something under that entity.
If you're dead, you can't pay tax, sir.
You don't pay tax, your corporation does. So we'll run through that. You can't be taxed. The Bible says you can't be, and you can't be put in servitude or usury. So you don't, but your corporation does.
Just in relation to these deeds of us, the real us, there's literally 6 billion pieces of paper sitting somewhere in the world.
Yeah. Why do you think Australia puts on a big party when they have 3,000 people at once become citizens? Because Australia's just taken on all that money. Your eyes will be opened the more you go through, and when you leave here today, you'll start seeing things very differently. So there's a very public and a very private side to the way we exist. Okay, the public side is all about fiction. They've created this big smoke and mirrors persona or person. Okay, whereas on the other side, are we not men and women? Are we dead? Are we nom de guerre dead people in corporations, or are we men and women? So when they write your name in capital letters, Okay, we'll show you now how to write your name in what's called quantum English or truth language. So rather than writing your name John James Doe, you'd write it John hyphen James, sorry, not hyphen, full colon John hyphen James full colon Doe. Full colon, if you look in an international styles or any styles manual, denotes a prepositional phrase. Okay, so you're actually noticing people that you are a noun. You are something of substance by writing your name that way. I see a lot of people even writing to us and in their emails and they're writing their name this way. They don't even know why. Don't use information if you don't know why you're doing it. So you can watch David Windmiller's stuff, but please start denoting yourself as a noun or a factual being in future. Who thinks they're a citizen or a resident or a ratepayer? All of those are public words. They're public entities with corporate ramifications. Or a licensee or an employee. How many of you are running around and joining yourself to these entities? Are we not sovereign sentient beings? Sovereign meaning of the land. Sentient means flesh and blood, spirit-filled beings. Are we not? We're not non-dead people. How we trade is through what we call is your agent in commerce or your birth certificate. That's the window between the two worlds that you are always signing off on. Look at the documents when you go and get your driver's license. You will be relinquishing your rights by identifying yourself as this entity. So whether you're doing it with knowledge or without knowledge is up to you from now on. Under the public side, we operate, as you just saw, under Admiralty or Maritime Law, which was the law of the sea. And it was all about trade, wasn't it? And then they very wittingly worked out that that's how they could trade us. So you've got to remember, the whole civilised world was Europe, wasn't it, until 300 years ago? They didn't really know about America or Australia. And from there, the whole colonisation of the world revolved around trade and ownership and money. What about just the taxes? Building permit tax, cigarette tax, corporate income tax, GST, fishing licence tax. Fishing licence tax. I was fishing with my 9-year-old daughter a couple of years ago at Mullumbimby, and someone came running up to me and said, "Mate, you got a licence?" My driver's licence. Yeah, no, your fishing licence. So I'm just catching a fish with my daughter. I need a fishing licence. You need a licence to catch one fish to put on the barbecue. Come on. Food licence tax, fuel permit tax, petrol, diesel tax, hunting licence tax, inheritance tax, that's a good one. Inventory tax, payroll tax, liquor tax, luxury tax, marriage licence tax, property tax, service charges as tax, capital gains tax. So philanthropic. Road usage tax, vehicle licence registration tax, tax. Still think it's funny? Not one of these taxes existed 100 years ago. Does a wallaby need a licence to cross the road to eat the gum leaves on the other side? Why do we need one to visit our loved ones on the other side of the city? Do you know that it says in the Constitution that you have the right to travel from property to property unhindered? You do, as a sovereign sentient being. That's a ruling in the High Court. And the High Court said that the Australian Constitution must be upheld at all times. Otherwise it's treason. Look at all these taxes, look at all these laws. I'd love to go into court one day and say, Your Honour, before we get started, could I just ask you 3 questions? I just want to test you on 3 laws. What does it say under the Crimes Act, section 47, subsection B? Oh, you don't know. Okay, what about this one? Just read 3 of them out. And when they don't know, ask them, why is it conscionable then, or why is it appropriate that we're expected to run around and understand 7 million laws and statutes? Are they not unrevealed? How are you supposed to know that? What are they designed to do? Yeah. It's absolutely crazy. All of this is based on an adversarial or war footing. Conquering and taking for power. The mandate of the colonisation policies was take by force. And if the savages resist, do what? Yeah. Who's heard of Mark McMurtry? Yeah? Not many? Look him up, and if you ever get the chance to see him speak, do so, or watch his DVDs. He has a lot to do with human rights, in particular the Aboriginal rights, because he's Aboriginal. And he's just got such a dry way of explaining things. He said, you tell me why 222 years ago my brothers were out on the